Back now to our breaking news. In just the last couple of hours, we have reports of at least 6 Democratic senators, that's Democratic senators, breaking with the White House and asking now for changes to the health care law. This is, we get brand new Fox News polls showing a growing number of Americans, now 60% think the rollout of Obamacare is, quote, a joke. Monica Crowley is a Fox News contributor and host of The Monica Crowley Show. And Bernard Whitman is a Democratic pollster and president and CEO of Whitman Insight Strategies. And so if you've got 6 who are now saying we need changes, either extend the enrollment, potentially delay the individual mandate, that would be very significant if they got that. The question is, does Harry Reid allow that to come to a vote on the Senate floor? Because if past his prologue, the answer is no. And then once again, the American people are looking at him asking why? Why won't you allow it to happen?
Right. And so now the ball is back in their court. Look, Obamacare, Megyn, was never popular. But what you're seeing in these numbers now that the rollout has been so disastrous and we're 3 weeks in, is that these are probably the peak numbers for Obamacare, right? Obamacare had one chance to make a first impression and they blew it. So these are probably the high watermark for these numbers. And Democratic senators are taking a look at this saying, this has never been popular. If this is the high watermark for where we are, this is only going to get worse. Maybe we do need to buy some time. And I would make this argument. The folks who led the government shutdown, at least on the Republican side, if you take a look at Ted Cruz or Mike Lee, who really centered it around Obamacare, trying to defund it, trying to delay it, trying to stop it however they could. I would argue that actually that worked in the sense that it taught the public how bad Obamacare is, and now the rollout just gave it form.
I don't know whether it was them or it was the actual problems with Obamacare. I mean, you could argue that they were talking over the problems which would have come to light earlier.
But it brought attention
either way,
to
though,
it.
Either way, Bernard, now that you've got Democrats saying, we have to delay this thing. How can you penalize people for not signing up for a program that they can't get online to sign up for?
Well, I couldn't disagree with Monica more because, frankly, I think the numbers for Obamacare are only going to go up. Why? Because, yes, 6 in 10 Americans said Obamacare is a joke. It did not affect their support for Obamacare at all. What did affect their support for Obamacare is severalfold. One, the more the Republicans talked about it and tried to talk about defunding it and shutting down the government, that actually spiked support for the program by 7 points, to the point where now in some polls almost as many people support the law as oppose the law, which is a first.
Right,
Second,
in
the
its
more
history,
people...
we talked about this last night, because in its history, it has never had
That's correct.
the majority support of Americans.
But you know what has had majority support? Things like the 85 million people who have got preventative care. Because remember, Obamacare is more than just the exchanges.
I know that, but that
more than that.
But that goes right to the heart of the problem. I'm going to give you the floor.
Popular.
This question is for you. That goes right to the heart of the matter, because the good stuff kicked in before, right? That stuff has been happening, like you get coverage on your parents' insurance up to age 26 and so on. It was in January of 2014 then the bad stuff was going to kick in, like the individual mandate. People are going to have to start paying for it. And now if that gets delayed, Bernard, where's the funding mechanism? All the goodies have been in, and the mandate and the penalty kicks up year after year. If you're pushing all that down the road, who is funding all those goodies we gave?
I don't think we can push it down the road. In fact, I think delaying the individual mandate would be a huge mistake. I think one thing that I would support, and I've said this for weeks, is if there's bipartisan support for repeal on the medical device tax, let it come up for a vote. I agree. Now, and then it'll be up to the senators and the House to figure out with the president how to replace the $30 billion. How to replace the $30 billion
That's just taking away more funding of it. I mean, the question is whether this law is about to implode on itself because the mandate is in jeopardy.
Yeah, and as you point out, look, in the 2010 elections, Republicans ran on opposing Obamacare, but at that point, Megyn, it was all sort of abstractions, right, because we didn't have the actual law. Now real people are getting affected by this, and what they're seeing is higher premiums, higher taxes, higher deductibles, loss of work, wages,
all right, now hold that thought, because I want to take the viewers back, because it is no accident that it is these 6 senators who are starting to jump ship, who are seeing a 180 from him. I mean, some of them a week ago were saying, oh, I don't believe in extending the mandate. And now tonight, oh, yeah, let's extend the mandate. Let's delay the penalties. But let me take you back to when we were debating the health care bill and Mary Landrieu of Louisiana came under fire at several town halls. Here's just sampling of one for whether she was going to vote for this thing, which she ultimately did. Watch it.
Where in the Constitution does the federal government have any rights to stick their hands anywhere in the healthcare system?
And I ask you, for the sake of my children and my grandchildren, don't let the government come into our lives.
The universal care is not, I don't feel, is the way to go. And I hope you really think about this when you go to vote.
Take that back, cut the waste, and you know where it is.
I think we can.
Well, she did vote for it, but some time has elapsed since then.
Yes, and they brought a lot of political pressure on her. I actually wrote about her case in my book last year, Megyn, because she went
What the bleep just happened?
What the bleep just happened, which a lot of Americans are asking right now. She actually requested a meeting with President Obama at the time, and she essentially begged him, because she was one of the last remaining moderate Democrats in the Senate. She said, look, I'm between a rock and a hard place here. Why don't we break this down, do it sort of in separate bills, get public buy-in, get Republican buy-in into this? And he essentially looked at her and said, Blanche, you're out of luck, because we're doing it in this comprehensive way. That turned out to be, I think, a huge mistake for the American people and for what we're facing here, but certainly for the Democrats. And now the surviving Democrats, as you point out, Megyn, now they're between a rock and a hard place.
But with all due respect, you can point out a lot of anecdotal cases, but I can do the same thing. In New York, costs for those on the exchanges are going to be cut by 50%.
But Bernard,
20 million people. Hold on, 20 million people. You may say that people don't support it. 20 million people have tried to at least get information about it, and over 500,000 are in the process of signing up.
That doesn't mean they
even
like
with
it.
all the technological problems. So there is huge pent-up demand. There is no doubt about that.
Huge pent-up demand. Let me ask you this. Because even now, we played the soundbite earlier of Joe Manchin saying this was never meant to kick you off of your insurance and make you have to buy more expensive insurance. That's from a Democrat now. We're starting to hear that from Democrats, Bernard. And the divide, we did a package on this last night, which is posted on our Facebook page if you want to check it out, facebook.com/The Kelly File. Talking about how this law was passed. Zero Republican support. It's never had the majority support of the American people. The majority of the American people have disliked and disfavored the law from before it was passed to today. And that's why these Republicans now, and now some of these more moderate Democrats, are not saying there's a problem, let's fix it necessarily. We're starting to hear more and more, there's a problem, let's say we told you so.
No, I disagree. I disagree because of the following. If you test the individual elements of the law, should there be annual and lifetime caps? No. Should pre-existing conditions be covered? Yes. Should kids be allowed to be on their insurance? Yes. Should we have mental health coverage and substance abuse coverage? Yes. Should we close the donut hole saving seniors billions? Yes. But there has to be a mechanism to achieve all of that.
To pay for it.
That's exactly right. So you've got to take all the benefits, and you have to understand that there are costs involved, A, and B, if we're going to be able to slow down the rising costs of medical care, which Obamacare has already done, you have to go down this path.
That's debatable.
The last point I'll leave you with is this. Now they say this tech surge is going to fix the website, right? They're going to do a tech surge that fixes the website. Right. My husband happens to have come from the tech industry, and he said there's a saying in the tech industry where you got 50 guys fixing the problem, and you say, well, just get 100 guys on it, and we'll fix it even faster. And the team looked at him at once and said, it doesn't, if you put 9 women, it wouldn't take 1 month to have a baby. It takes what it takes.
Right. And so far, we don't see a General Petraeus to lead the tech surge.
Oh, well.
Do we?
I'm not going to go there. Okay, Monica, Bernard, thank you both so much.
Thank you.